This is a fret bending tool, and I'll use it to bend the frets. How weird is that? Now, we want the radius of the frets before we begin to be smaller, actually that is rounder, because the radius is smaller than the radius of the fretboard. I'll show you exactly why this is. After bending the frets, using some acetone to clean the frets as much as possible. As you can see, they sure need a cleanup. These frets are dirty, filled with oils from manufacturing, and we don't want any of the greases to go inside the fret slots. Most guitars would need about 4 or 5 feet. Yeah, about 5 feet of fret wire. This is a 5-string bass, so we might need maybe 6 feet, but we have enough, so I'm not worried about the amounts of fret wire needed. Okay, and the next step is to start inserting the frets. Before we do that, I'll explain a little bit about the process of inserting fret wire into the fretboard. And if you look closely, now as you can see, the fret wire is more rounded, which means the radius is smaller than the fretboard's radius. Now there's a reason for that, and the idea is that when I press, actually I will hammer the frets into the guitar, I want the sides to get inserted into the wood, and after that I will spread the fret like so. Of course I'm exaggerating with my fingers, but the motion of the fret will be as such, and the fret will sit very tightly in the slot and will not pop back out. Now, it's very important for me to explain. There are 2 main methods of inserting frets on guitars. One of them is the press method, and the other is the hammering method. Both methods are fine, and many people do both. I'm using the hammering method just because after working for so many years and practicing both methods, I've decided that I can reach a higher quality using a handheld hammer than a press machine. And it's up to you to decide. Usually most people who aren't acquainted with this work would prefer using the press machine. But for those of you who are very articulated with working with tools, I truly believe that hammering frets into place will yield better results. So that's what I'm going to do right now. First of all, I'll cut the end of the fretboard. That's the part that wasn't bent in the machine. Now we're ready to begin. I'll cut a fret and leave a few millimeters from each side, like so. Now, of course, I've blasted air into these slots because I really do not want any dust or particles in here. So this is very clean. I have my fret, which is ready, and I'm using this Gorilla CA glue. It's actually gel. It's almost a gel, and I really like using this this glue for this job, and I'll show you exactly how to use it. So what I do, I actually squeeze 3 points of glue into the slot, clean it really rapidly, and insert the fret like so. And just making sure that everything is hammered totally in place. And one hit on this end and another small hit on the other end. That's it. Now, as you saw, and you'll probably see again in the next frets, the motion I'm using is always to the sides. I'm almost never hammering exactly straight down, because what I want to do, I want to expand the frets like so, like I showed you before. And this expansion occurs when I'm hammering the frets to the sides and actually pulling using this rubber end of the hammer, and it actually pulls the frets to the sides and fits everything perfectly in place. So I'll do the entire neck. The camera will move around me and you can see it from many angles. And if you take a look at this, you can see that we have all frets inserted into this fretboard. That's great. Now we added some pressures, some new pressures to this neck, because the tang that is inserted into the slot, every tang pushes just a tiny bit the fretboard out. So we'll leave this fretboard now for 2 or 3 days before we continue the finishing process. A few days have passed and we can continue with the work. I'll use my my huge cutter here, cut all the excess frets. Must be removed, all these tiny fret residues. Our next step is to use these. I'm using my thumb here. I put it like so I won't hurt the finish of the guitar using this file. Now it's not completely flush yet on this side. I'm still leaving like 1/10 of a millimeter protruding out. Let's do the other side. Now I'll be using this angled grinder, and it will help me grind the frets to an angle that's comfortable to play, because right now they're very, very sharp. As you can see, this side was grinded and it's now in an angle. This side was not. I'm going to do the other side as well. The most important thing about grinding angles and beveling the frets is not to overdo it. We really don't want to sand off the fretboard itself, only the frets. Be very, very careful when doing this process. Now I'll be using this side of the file to sand off and file off all the pointy bits of the frets. This file is much more gentle than the other former file we used. This is becoming much nicer to the touch. Now I'll vacuum this space so I can continue with my work. I have this block here with 320 grit. I'll work on the side finish. Now this is extremely smooth and really nice to the touch, but we still have to file those really sharp edges here. I'm using this crowning tool, which is very round, and this is a diamond file. Just work like this. Now I'm using this sanding sponge, using the fine. The other side, and with the super fine. Oh, this is really smooth, really nice to the touch. So we'll use some polish just to create a nice shiny finish to the sides. Using this stuff. Really nice and shiny. So now all we have to do is to level this fretboard and set up the guitar. So now you know my technique of refretting a 5-string jazz bass. You can use this technique to refret other guitars. All the best, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.